Well, there's a Birmingham Boy, certainly. Nhenha, one of the favourites. This one definitely has the equal sign on his right nostril. And that is the correct nostril for Nhenha. So we've had Nsuku and Nhenha today. And what looks like amber eyes, I think. The lioness certainly has amber eyes, but she's got a huge amount of scarring on the back. And that's most likely from extensive attempts to mate. But, as Nikki is now pointing out to me, she's had it for a while. And I wonder if it isn't a little bit of, I don't know if it's old scarring, maybe one hesitates to say it, a spot of mange. But I don't think so. I think that's scarring. I think it's from being bitten. A life of, well, a fairly hard-lived life. No lion has it easy out here. All of them scarred. And it's so interesting when you go to a reserve that isn't near the Kruger, for example, isn't in part of an open system like Kruger or Mara. Say to Pinda, for example, which is in the northern parts of Natal, or KwaZulu-Natal. The lions look like ramp models. You know, they've got no scarring on them at all because the lion population must be artificially managed. Whereas here it isn't. So these lions fight for everything that they get. And that means that they grow up fairly ropey looking. When you compare them to sort of lions that have been born on these smaller reserves where people move lions in and out to keep the population genetics or the genetic pool relatively deep, you find that they are much better looking. Well, not better necessarily, but certainly they look more, more picture book, more Mufasa and less Scar. Yeah, she was, Jen. I was just thinking the same thing. You say Amber Eyes was with the Pride yesterday. She was, absolutely. And they were with Tino, the male, which means that all three of these males have been around here. And it also means that this chap, Nsuku, picked her up yesterday evening, sometime. Came across the Pride, picked her up, decided to try and make her his consort, which he has successfully done. Sorry, this is Nhenha, and Nsuku's the other one we had today. He's also got quite a swollen nose, this fellow. Quite bulbous. He's probably been on the sauce a bit long, you know. Enjoys the odd bourbon of an evening, 3 or 4. He's also bleeding. Look underneath his eye there. Miguel, you say, could the scars be from botfly larvae? I thought botflies got in the nose. It's possible. I don't know, Miguel, that's a good question. Let's just go back to the male, and let's look at the blood there on under his eye. I wonder if he didn't have a fight with his brother yesterday. Remember how we saw Nsuku with a nasty few gashes over the other side of his face? And I wonder if these two didn't have a fight. Perhaps over mating rights. This after I've told you that they don't normally fight over mating rights. What I meant, I guess, when I said they don't really fight over mating rights is that I suppose at the initial stages when they're trying to isolate the female who's in estrus from the pride, then yes, there could be conflict. Once we're at this stage, though, it's highly unlikely that another male will come in from the same coalition and try and chase him off. But obviously there was some conflict, and we'd often see, we've got some spectacular footage of these male lions fighting with each other. You know, he's got some nasty scars. My dear, he's not interested. She's not interested. Leave me alone. Of course, if she's not interested, he's going to find it very difficult to have any kind of mating opportunity. I know he's been smacked in the face, and I think that's last night. And as Nikki says, she has had males following her for quite some time. She does seem to struggle to fall pregnant. And indeed, often when I've seen her mating, it's been those sort of half-hearted attempts where it doesn't look like it's been consummated properly. And by that I mean that she doesn't there isn't that aggressive response as he, well, one doesn't want to be too graphic about it, but as withdrawal occurs, so normally there's this painful reaction from her because of the barbs on his penis, and she will then normally turn around and have a swat at him, and I haven't seen her do that, which makes me think that there is some, I don't know, it's just not working quite properly, but I might be wrong. I feel I missed out a lot on the Nkuhumas last year. Scarlett, you're wondering about how much time a male lion can go without water. Well, in theory, they don't actually need water. In theory, if they're eating sufficiently, they're almost water dependent, not independent, not quite like a leopard. So, I mean, it could go, I suspect, weeks without drinking if it's eating sufficient. And if you look at lions in a place like the Kalahari or those desert-adapted lions in Namibia, they'll often go weeks without drinking. But that's only because they get moisture from their kills. You know, we are, what is the figure? Something like 90% water. I think it's something like that. You know, between 70 and 90% water. Bobby, I don't know. I mean, you mean like we do. You say, would a lion drink a lot if he hasn't eaten? And in order to sort of stave off the pangs of hunger? I guess he might. I'm not sure. It's very, I mean, that would be an extremely difficult thing to answer. I suppose you could do some research on and gather a whole lot of lions, or gather research on lions where you measured the amount of time that they'd had since their last meal and see if their frequency of drinking went up. Whether you could attribute that to some kind of feeling of discomfort or an actual physiological need, I'm not really sure. All right, we're going to go from the sublime 2 male lions to the ridiculous now with Tristan.